Let me just start with a little bit about what African Filter does and how we connect with the arts. We're an organization that was set up to sort of shift harmful, stereotypical narratives about Africa, narratives like Africa's broken because everybody's trying to fix us. You know, Africans are dependent because, like, the West, rich countries are always trying to give us money to fix ourselves. And the fact that Africans lack agency, like we don't even know how to do it ourselves. So that's kind of those narratives, and narratives are built up from stories that you hear over time. So it's a story about poverty, of famine, of, you know, of conflict, of violence, corruption. Those ladder up to those sort of narratives. And one thing we realized that stories are the way narratives are shaped. So if you want to change narrative, you've almost got to empower people to tell stories. There are two types of storytellers. There's storytellers in media, journalists, and there's storytellers in the arts. What I love about people in the arts is that storytelling and people who are talented in some kind of creative way have a way of triggering conversations around the things that they care about. So if you get an artist to depict an issue, it's likely to generate and stimulate some sort of conversation. So that's how we use art. So we essentially give funds to artists, to storytellers, graphic designers, content creators, you know, visual artists, writers, to tell the stories that shift the continent, or shift their country, or shift narrative around their community. But it's got to be something that that presents a different picture of the way the world usually sees this particular thing. So that's how we use artists. And by the way, I will stop. But the one thing I always say to my team is that we don't like artists just because they're artists. We like artists who want to shift the narrative. We have to tell our own stories. We have to. I mean, I wrote a book called Africa's Greatest Entrepreneurs because there was a time when we thought the greatest entrepreneurs were always in America, or they were in the UK or in France or Germany. And the point is that some of the greatest entrepreneurs are actually right here on this continent, because it's an incredibly difficult environment in which to be successful. So I wanted us to tell that story, because if you don't tell that story, if you don't do your own PR, no one's going to do it for you. And we've already seen the impact when other people tell their stories. And for a very, very long time, my email signature was, "Until lions learn to write, hunters will tell their stories for them." It's an African proverb that really resonates with me. So for a very long time, I've been like, no, we've got to tell our own stories. I did a series called Living It, showing that actually, you know what, they are wealthy people, middle-class people on this continent. It isn't just a continent of poor people who, you know, with flies on our faces. So somebody actually said, "Okay, you've been doing this for a very long time." So it's almost like this journey through my life. I ended up here at African Filter, where I'm actually paid and I have funds to give to other people to do something I've been trying to do on my own, with very little money, because you don't make money out of writing books, I'll tell you that now. But yeah, it's been a passion project. So I say that, you know, I feel very blessed, and I feel that, you know, if you're really committed to your passion, you really believe in something, you'll get there. You'll find a way to monetize it. Somebody will pay you to do it because they know you believe in it. And that's kind of what's happened to me.
And, you know, I want to know how you pay it forward.
I'll tell you some of the things that I've done, right? Like, I started a series of books called Nolly Books, which was really trying to get young people to read, because I thought there was a gap between when you're in school and you're forced to read, and then when you leave university, where you don't even touch a book anymore, because every experience you've had with books has been academic. And I thought we really need to bring in some fun books where young people were reflected in the books. So you saw an Ntando who was named, you know, had a name like you, had a similar environment to you. So we started a series called Nolly Books, and I brought the books down to 50 Rand, which at the time they said we couldn't do it. And I undercut it. I subsidized it because I wanted young people to read. At the same time, I realized that if you give things away, people think they have no value. So there had to be a price to the book. I still owe my husband. For that, I've got a lot of books sitting there. But then we gave them around. We even put them down to 25 Rand, and I still have books. So I spend a lot of time giving people books, because I think that ability to tell your own story means you need to read other people's stories, because I got a lot of people approaching me and say, I have a fantastic story. Okay, do you read? How do you tell a story? Because there's an art to telling a story. So that whole Nolly Books project for me was one of the big sort of, I want to give something back. It's the art of storytelling, understanding other people's stories. So that whole thing was, for me, it was a what you call it? It was a project from the heart.
Seeing women like you gives the rest of us the courage to pursue our dreams, because now we know what is possible. And you've worked with so many big organizations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So I want to know what challenges you've faced as a female leader, and if there were any gender stereotypes from any of the organizations that you've worked with.
There will always be, challenges being a woman, being Black. I wrote a piece recently about the fact that if there's a hierarchy of people in the world, maybe it's white men at the top and it's Black African women right at the bottom, right? So I feel that there are things that we can do. And I was on a panel recently where I said that the reason why I'm where I am is because I've stood on the shoulders of women who have come before me, right? There was a time when we weren't even allowed to work, right? Somebody fought for that to happen. There was a time when, we had you got married and you sat quietly at home. Somebody fought to get into the boardroom, so it's always about this paying it forward. And what I said on this particular panel, and I remember somebody challenged me on it, was that, it is supposed to be uncomfortable, right? But you've got to stay in there and you've got to fight. But I'm Nigerian. I'm naturally aggressive. I'm naturally I don't agree with that. I challenge naturally. But there are people who don't want to fight. And this particular woman said, well, some environments are so toxic that it's actually not nice, and you just, you want to leave and you want to go away. And I said, well, you can, but remember that for every opportunity you have and you walk away because, oh, it's just uncomfortable, I don't like the way the guys are talking to me, you are closing the door on another person getting in, another woman getting in that door. So even if you don't do it for yourself, do it for the next person, do it for your daughter or your daughter's daughter, because you fighting and changing a situation in your organization or in your environment makes it easier for the next person. So I definitely stay in the room because I like a good fight, right? And that brings me to another narrative about women, Black angry woman, your angry Black woman, which I've had. That's a challenge for me. Because angry Black women, they may be really good, but they're difficult to work with, they're this, they're not, and particularly, I think sometimes, American organizations, European organizations, they want to have diversity increasingly. They want Black people, they want Black women. They want us to behave in a particular way, right? They do, they want, what's the word? Not, they want they don't want the reality of actually having diversity. They just want to say, hey, look, we've got 3 Black women on our board, but they just don't want us to talk. So I resigned from a board, well, for a lot of reasons, but I thought, no, I'm not, that's my statement, right? They brought me in to tick a box. I'm like, I'm not going to give you that because you really actually don't want to change, right? Then I've been in situations where I was on a board and I was the only woman on this board. And I remember the chairman always used to say, Moky, do you want to take notes? No, God damn it, I don't want to take notes. You get yourself let there be a secretary to take the notes. He never asked the men. And you know what his reason why? He said, oh, but you wrote a book. I said, yes, a book.
Sure.
I wrote a book. I didn't write minutes. So, and I would just say no, because he wasn't comfortable asking the men, yet he was comfortable asking me.
Do you have any words of inspiration that you would like to give to the young African child?
But it's really, well, if you have an idea, just do it, because you won't regret it, because you'll learn from it, because even if you fail, you'll learn from that. And I've had many failures, but it's been a process of trying, and that every failure has taught me something new, and I don't regret it. I've got books, Nolly Books, the book idea sitting in my garage to this day. That was a form of failure, but it taught me so much, and I did something. And when I look at the books, half of me thinks, damn, I need to give them away. I need to do more. But you know what it says to me is that, you know what, I did it. That's actually what it says. So to young people, you have an idea, you have a thought, don't sit in your room thinking, oh, I can't do it. Get out there and do what you can do. Do the best that you can do, and somebody will come and support it. Somebody will come and see. And then you can point and say, look, you know what? With what I had, I did this. So to young people, you've got to find the energy. There are too many young kids sitting around waiting for something to happen. It doesn't work like that. You've got to get up, do what you can, do what you have resources for.